Whereas 10 years ago, it may have been $8 million or $10 million to do the conversion. We can do it for a reasonable amount of money, and it will, that part of it will not affect the taxpayer in 14-15.
Joe, for long-range planning, do we look at the amount of building that's been approved to be done in Old Bridge? I know there's a number of houses that have been okayed already, and building looks like it's coming back into town. So do we take all of that into consideration for long range?
At the Buildings and Grounds meeting, Mayor Henry was kind enough to attend that meeting. I'm not sure if he was invited, but he was there. And Mrs. Andriani specifically asked him the question about where our community was going over the next 10 years. His conclusion was that over the next 5 years, our enrollment would remain constant and may even slightly decrease. And beyond that, we would be looking at possibly an increase in enrollment. But over the next 5 years, we should remain pretty much where we are today. Now, saying that, he also indicated that there are a number of, there's one nonprofit institution in the district that will be converting to a for-profit entity. We're not quite sure when. It's either this January or next January, and that will provide considerable relief to the taxpayers and the tax levy. And there's also another Walmart that's coming into the district, which again will provide, it's a for-profit business, and it will provide additional tax relief because our ratables will significantly increase. So I think the time is right, but you know, I can't predict what the state aid will be in the future.
Mr. Dunn? You implied that I think you implied that the whole board is in favor of this, putting aside the economic reasons. I just want to make it official that I'm not 100% sold on full-day kindergarten, period. Of course, economics being a big part of it. Maybe it's a little bit of being old-fashioned. If I was a kindergarten parent today, I don't know if I'd want my children in full-day kindergarten. Today's world of technology and children not being children anymore, again, I'm sure I'm the minority in this, and I'm going out on a limb even saying this, but I'm not 100% sold on the whole idea. I look forward to reading the report that Ms. Kibler quoted before as far as studies, and maybe I'm totally wrong, and maybe I'm totally out of line saying this, but I'd like to see a little more information besides the economic part of it.
Mr. DePrima, I respect your comments, and what I meant by the entire board, they want to see the economic, not the economic, but the educational enrichment of the children and not necessarily implementing it. I agree. We need to get a little bit more information so everyone could feel comfortable with their vote, whether it's yes or no, but the administration will take the time to get us that information so we can have a complete package in front of us so all our answers are answered, or our questions are answered. That's very, very important. We need to be educated. We need to know the information so that we can make a decision on which direction we need to go in. And I know that this whole discussion about full-day kindergarten did start last year. This has been out there. It's been in the community. We've had meetings last year on this. We had a committee that was established where we heard from a lot of the residents of Old Bridge. And this was last year. Now it's 12 months later, and we're still in the position like, oh, well, we don't have enough information. Well, you know what? Now we're going to get that information to all the board members. We're going to get that information out to the public so that we can make a decision on our children's educational future. Very, very important. We're all taxpayers here. We all have a vested interest in what happens here. I understand that a lot of people who live in Old Bridge do not have kids in the system, but most of them are homeowners. Homeowners have an investment. They have something in this community, and I feel that a full-day kindergarten program will enhance home values. People moving into to places like Old Bridge like the possibility of having full-day kindergarten. So it's going to have an economic benefit for everyone. Yes, there may be some increases here and there so that we can fund the program, but ultimately the economic improvement of your home value will help. So there's a lot of things that we need to consider here, but this has been something that's been discussed since last year, and it's out there already in the community. And now we just need to make sure that the community has the complete package of information, that the board members have all their questions answered, so that everyone feels comfortable with a decision. And I'm in a position right now to allow this to move forward to the action agenda. And if something changes where, there's a huge dispute, we don't have all the facts, there's an uproar from the community, then we can always remove it from the agenda. But this has been out there, people. We've been discussing it for a year. And I think that it's time that we move this forward so that it could be put on the table for consideration. Now, like I said, if we do not have all the information and the majority of the board is uncomfortable with moving forward because the administration was not able to answer all questions, then I'll remove it from the action agenda. So that's what I'm thinking at this point, and I think that it's going to be a challenge for the administration to get that information to us within the next 3-4 days, but I think that they will do it, and we will have all our questions answered.
I just want to make a point, like the point I was trying to bring up before with the funding. This year, we funded $1.4 million for security. We had to raise taxes to cover a lot of the cost. Being on the Board of Education, the budget is year to year, and it's unfair to ask anyone to predict what it's going to be like in 4 or 5 years from now, 3 years from now. Next September, we have the money to implicate full-day kindergarten. I'm all for it. In fact, I'm ready to actually vote on it next week. It's not a problem. But I just think, in all fairness, that Kevin and Sal be brought up to speed on what was discussed the last 12 months, because myself, Donna, Freddie, you, Matt, we've all been on the board. Mr. Weber, we've all been here when these discussions took place. And Mr. Sal and Mr. and Kevin have not been here. So in all fairness to them, I'd just like to see all their questions, all their concerns be answered. Because, yes, we did discuss this. We did have committees. We did have Ms. Kibler, and the rest of the staff put a great program together for us to follow. We can afford it this year. And like I said, next year, we're not going to have the security cost that we had this year. We're going to have security cost. We're not going to have that bulk because the majority of the work would have been done, would have been budgeted for already. So, and again, being on the Board of Education, it is year to year. You can't assume that the money's going to be there when it's not. And we, as board members, know that. You got to live year to year. Unfortunately, you have to live year to year, and that's just the way we've been doing things. And for some crazy, we were here 3 years ago. We were closing schools. There was a panic amongst the town. We didn't close anything once state funding came through. So we just have to remember that it's a year to year. It's unfair to ask Mr. Maurer, this administration, to what do you think in 3 years now? Could we afford this? Because that's a question no one can answer. The question we can answer now is right now, this current board, that next September we can afford it. It's budgeted. It's not going to hurt the taxpayers. And then the following year, that's for a future boards, a future, maybe a future governor to make that decision. So please, have Mr. Cedadino, your staff, answer any questions or concerns that Mr. Borsili or Sal have, so they're up to speed with the rest of the board members, so we can move forward with this vote, because it's something that I truly believe that we need. And I'm old-fashioned too, but unfortunately, this society today is a two-income family. You need two people need to work today to support. I was one of the few lucky ones. My wife was able to stay home and raise our children, but that's not going to happen anymore. People who live in our Woodbridge now, wives and husbands, are going to have to go out and work, and they're going to need somewhere to put their children. I think full-day kindergarten, giving them the education that they need, is a great way to start. Thank you, Mr. President.
And just to
Mr.
clarify, I'm not
Dunn,
opposed to moving this forward.
I'm sorry, Sal. Mr. Dunn, just to be fair to our former board members, kindergarten has been on the table for the last 5 or 6 years, and, they've worked hard and diligently with Ms. Kibler. I mean, she's got a file probably in her office that takes up, 3 sides of the room. So this has been in a working stages for quite a while. Right now, we're close to doing it. But I would suggest that next week we have that meeting in the auditorium and invite as many people out, and hopefully administration will have a lot more answers for us so that we can move forward and see if it's going to work. That's the last from me.
Thank you, Mr. Calabella.
Yeah, I haven't, go ahead.
Mr. Sulikowski, go ahead, sir. Matt, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I haven't about this, but I tried to implement a full-day kindergarten, I guess about 6-7 years ago, twice. And the public was totally against it. We're saying that, okay, we're going to invite the public, but how are we going to inform the public? you know, a little blurb in a newspaper is not going to pull it off, or what's going to be on TV. They're not going to see that. We have to somehow inform the public that we are going forward with this particular, I want the entire community to know we're doing this. Not only the small clique that, hey, our kids are going to go through the school system, or the ones that are actively involved. There's got to be a better way, possibly a mass mailing to the entire community, to the 12 or 13,000 homes that we have here. We'll spend a couple of $1,000s to do this. After all, you're going to spend millions of dollars to put this program through. Right now, the way it's going, I'm going to pass on that vote for next week. I'm sorry, I can't go. You have to inform the entire community, not only that small fraction of people.
I am shocked Mr. Kindergarten is passing on a vote. But in any event, the numbers that you already have, Mr. Mara mentioned $60,000, which is an appropriate cost for a startup BA1 teacher. But our salary guide, there are teachers who are on the master's guide who will be making $90,000 plus maybe a full family package of benefits. And my point is, I know Mr. D'Onofrio talked about worry about this year, but it's just like me going out and leasing a car, and my payment's $169 a month now, but the second year the lease is $400, and the next year it's $800. I want to know what that 5-year lease is going to cost me on a car, or my 5-year financing. You do 5-year planning for buildings and grounds, for long-range facilities. You should be certainly doing a 5-year plan for this. The housing, the demographics, I think what Mr. Henry said is appropriate. It's going to continue to remain soft. I had done the demographics for a long time. I don't see a big change coming. But again, you put a kindergarten program in full-time. 15 years down the road, as it's gone through a full cycle of teachers won't be making $60,000 plus a single benefits package. They'll be making what the average salary in the district is, and plus the full benefits package. And then the question becomes, well, really, how many more teachers are we going to have? Are we going to have 12 and try and maintain the class size average we have now, which I'm sure, again, the parents and staff like, or are we going to actually have as many as 20 more with that cost? Currently, at 12 teachers at $60,000 a year, not counting any paraprofessionals that need to be brought in for special needs kids who are going to be integrated in the program for the additional half day that they wouldn't have been before, you're talking $720,000 a year as an immediate operating expense. And again, if you go to 20 classes, you're talking, you're talking a lot more. You're talking 20 teachers, you're talking $1.2 million, and that'll grow to almost $2 million by the time you get 8 or 10 years into it. Those things I think that the public needs to know and the board needs to know before you make an informed vote. I'll send a list of questions to the central administration tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. I'm going to reiterate to the administration that we will need all this information pronto. It's very important so that everyone has that information and we could decide whether or not this is something that's going to take place next week or at the next meeting on the 17th. So we'll move it forward, but if we do not get our answers and if we do not get the information that will help us make an informed decision, then we would have to pull it from the action agenda. Very well. Any other questions on this topic? I'm going to ask the administration to prepare a presentation for the next board meeting in the event that we do have a large influx of the public coming into our meeting, so that we can present the numbers to them, so that their questions can be answered maybe in some sort of presentation. But we'll discuss that at a later date. Any other questions and concerns?
On item number 7, how do we leave off with that, Rich? I forgot after holding this.
Item number 7. Yes.
Up for further discussion?
Yes, it's put on the workshop agenda for, additional discussion, and the Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation Committee moved it to the full board for consideration. Mayor Owen Henry came to our meeting 2 weeks ago to discuss a a situation that he needs our help with. He came to us looking for our help regarding a memorial plaque that would be placed somewhere within Lombardi Field, memorializing four young men who tragically passed away in 1966. I'm not going to get into the details of what transpired, but they were in a car accident. And the last place that they were at was at Lombardi Field, watching a football game. And when they left the particular field, they left Lombardi Field, they took a particular road home, and they were in a motor vehicle accident, and 4 or 5 of them passed away. Mayor Henry came to the board asking us for our help. And at this point, I want to have the entire board consider his request to allow the installation of a memorial plaque somewhere on Lombardi Field, since that was the last place that these 4 young men were, where they celebrated with their friends, and when they left the football game, they tragically died. So I'm going to open up to the rest of my colleagues on the board for discussion, but Owen Henry, the mayor, came to our meeting and asked us to possibly consider a location.
Mr. Dunn, I think he had a specific location in mind, though. When he said that, I think he mentioned a specific place, just to clarify.
There was a specific place that I believe that Mr. David Cetadino and the mayor discussed, and it was in an area by the home bleachers, by the entrance. It's a fenced-off area at Lombardi Field. It's a good piece of real estate for the school district, and I know that some board members may like to do something else with that area in the future. So for us to designate that area as the place at this point is not appropriate. We need to vet that out as a board to see exactly if we could meet the mayor's request.
I think you guys might have the wrong image of where it is.
David, can you
I just
give us some
wanna-
details?
The mayor asked me to meet him out there and look at several locations. A few things that we agreed upon. It should be in a fenced-off area if they're going to use a pedestal. As someone who attends the football games, when we had that large retaining wall over by the new concession stand, students tend to stand on top of there, jump off of there, sit on top of there, and I really don't think a place that's a memorial is a place where students should be sitting or standing on top of. So we agreed that it should be beyond the fence, so that it can be viewed upon as people walk past, but not disrespected. The area that he showed me that I thought was fitting was not a prime piece of real estate. It wasn't by the brick area, the kind of rotunda brick area as soon as you walk in, kind of where we have ceremonies. I think that was where we had the ceremony for the Walk of Fame. It's not in that area. It was more towards, if you are walking towards the home bleachers, and as you're walking on the lower level close to the field, there's a fenced-off triangle that it's basically, dead space that keeps the handicap ramp separate from the general walking area. And it was in that area of space right prior to the entrance to the home bleachers. Obviously, did not want to put something of this, community memorial next on the visitor side, because people visiting the visitor side would have no idea its aspect or its significance to the community. So that was one of the areas. It's one of the few areas that's behind a fence that kind of protects it and keeps it from being disrespected. So it's kind of more, if you're walking to the bleachers and you look to the right where the old restrooms were, that's the area right there.
Mr. Dunn, if I may ask just a little more detail about the situation. Unfortunately, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I mean, we're on the year anniversary of the Pathmark tragedy here in Old Bridge. And no one's talking about a plaque for that. Where does it start? Where does it stop? Does Lombardi Field become a memorial? I know we have a memorial up at the town center where, for 9/11 and other people who died in Old Bridge on tragic days. Why why Lombardi Field and why, I'm just playing devil's advocate. When did this take place? Years ago? I mean, 20 years, 10 years ago, 5 years ago? 1966, and it's something we're looking to do now, which is a beautiful thing. But I can name 5 Old Bridge tragedies to our students in the past 5 years that we've either said no to, or we didn't even bring a discussion about. I mean, if you're going to do something like that for the community, I think the whole, it should be maybe at a town center or, last year we had a gentleman come to us pleading for the gentleman who was murdered in Old Bridge, and we told him no. Something that happened in 1966, and please don't take me as a heartless person. I'll build a statue if they want, for these kids, believe me. But Lombardi Field, we built it, a place for celebration, for school spirit, team spirit. I don't want it to become a memorial, because I'm sure once this is allowed, which should be, other people are going to come out. You're going to, the words Cy Boskus used, you're going to open Pandora's box. Then what do? What's wrong with the kids from Pathmark? They're any different than the kids who died in 1966, or the kid who committed suicide 2 years ago who jumped off the Raritan Bay Bridge? Is he any different? Where does it start? Where does it stop? That's all I'm asking this board to consider.
I agree with you, totally, 100%. The last couple of meetings we had here, there was a girl that came, and she, I guess, spoke about her problems with the water in the school system. And she told me a story that her uncle, also, in 1986 or 87 it was, he was a student in the school system here. Him and his friend were also at a game, and they got killed on 516 in a collision. I mean, you're absolutely right. Do we open up Pandora's box here? Because there's hundreds and hundreds of situations like this. We have to walk slowly with this one. That's my opinion.
Mr. Dunn, if I may, with all due respect, I think you left out a little bit of the story. I was at the meeting when Mayor Henry said it, and there was a plaque prior in a different location, but I think that location has become a defunct location, and the plaque has just gone into disarray, so he'd like to reinitiate the idea, or the families would like to reinitiate the idea, just to add a little more on the defense of why we're doing it or not.
I mean, we did something up here for Ellie. I mean, why don't we consider doing something up at the high school? I mean, where there is a memorial. I don't want to start making Lombardi Field into a memorial, that's all I'm saying, because you're going to get, like Mr. Solakowski said, there are hundreds. Just in this past 5 years, we can probably come up with 20 kids who were tragically taken from us, either, what is this, you'll have the whole place be full of plaques before you know it.
And Town Hall does have a memorial now. It's probably the right place for it.
I mean, I'll pay for the plaque for these kids, believe me. I'll buy it by myself and be more than glad to donate it to the township to place it, somewhere. Like I said, we
In
do
fact,
have-
I was at the Aberdeen Township School System with my grandson. He took a program there, and there's a tree outside the school where a couple of kids apparently also got killed. And what they did is they put a little plaque by the tree over there, and they cemented it in. And, in a situation like that, I think that's sufficient. But not in Lombardi Field, because like Mr. D'Onofrio said, that would open up a big can of worms over there. Hundreds and hundreds of people would come forward after that.
But there is plenty of room there, too, if it does come to the effect that, people come forward. These people did happen to come forward. If others do, so be it.
If I can just add, I think Mr. Dunn had also mentioned that the fact of the matter was that these 4 individuals had just left a game at Lombardi Field, right? So I think that's one of the reasons, as well as why they want Lombardi Field. And in my opinion, it might be a good reminder to our students as they walk by it that, you do need to be careful as you're going home. I mean, tragedies can happen at any moment. So, I think that's the difference between some of the other instances that you guys are mentioning where, it didn't happen, after a game at Lombardi Field. I think it has some significance to Lombardi Field. That's one reason I think Mr. Dunn brought that up.
Mr. Borselli, I just said that. The uncle died. He was at a football game also with his friend,
We just had a woman get killed this past summer in Sandburg. She was jogging the track. She crossed the street and got ran over and got killed by a car, right in front of Sandburg.
If anybody deserves
You
it,
know-
also would be the 2 children that got killed.
Right,
at
that's what I'm
Pathmark.
saying.
They
Every,
left our
every,
school, they
everyone
went to
deserves
work.
it.
That's right. I mean,
Everyone
it's-
deserves it. And sometimes it's not a good reminder. Like, I'm sure the families of Pathmark do not want to be reminded of that tragic day. You're opening up a bad, like I says, I'll pay for the plaque, I'll build a bronze statue for these kids. But there's got to be a better location.
I thought the discussion was the location within Lombardi Field. That's what I was led to believe.
Well, that was kind of me. I've been the proponent, I mean, I've said I don't really think it belongs there, and I happen to agree with Mr. D'Onofrio and Mr. Silikowski that once you have one, you're going to have somebody that was a football star who is no longer with us, and their family's going to want something, and I just think that we don't know what kind of onslaught we will get with requests. And then that puts the board in the position of saying, okay, you can have a plaque here and you cannot. And I don't know if we want to get that. And all of a sudden now, oh, do we have to have a policy for that? That goes way beyond what we should be here for. And I kept saying is I would be willing to compromise to put something there as long as it wasn't in the entrance. Now, you know, in Yankee Stadium, they have something way in the back. You know, if you wanted to do something, then it should be off to the side, over by the old concession stand, maybe over by the far field goal of the goal post, and make it an area that if we do have other requests. But to put something right in front where if we get 4 or 5 more people, there's no more room in that area. And I do not feel an entranceway is a place for this to be. So, Sal, going to you, that was me saying, I really don't want it here. It wasn't even a matter of approval, but we haven't even decided whether or not we would like it there. Now, the other thing that you were all missing is that they're saying it's the anniversary is October 8th, so the mayor was looking to try and get this done so that the anniversary is coming up, and he wanted to do something prior to October 8th. So there's a deadline in that perspective from what the mayor is trying to ask us to do. And then, along with that, he did say, oh, well, maybe we could have a moment of silence or something at the game. And then now we're snowballing again. So we need to have a discussion truly about this. And October 8th, you know, if you blink, 3 weeks, you know, boom, we're here.
I mean, has anyone asked the alumni foundation about possibly putting a brick by the American flag? I mean, there are some memorials there. I mean, I've seen a lot of bricks in memory of. It's a beautiful place by the American flag. I mean, why can't they just purchase a brick? I mean, you know, that's all I'm saying there are other options. And like I said, and then doing something like that with the alumni foundation, you're not opening up Pandora's boxes. And at that point, anyone can purchase a brick, and anyone can put it anywhere on the complex. We have future spots for bricks. We have plenty of room next to the field. I mean, if you want to do something like that, do something like that. This way we can, as a board, be held accountable. You know, they can contact the foundation and have a brick made up.
I was at the meeting when the mayor presented this, and it shouldn't be a personal thing, obviously, but it seemed really, really important to him and to those involved, just to acknowledge the people that weren't at the meeting when he presented it.
Sal, the Pathmark shooting was a great deal to me, and you don't see me standing there yelling for plaques. You know, and I'm just saying, you know, you got to put your personal things to a side, and we got to do what's right for the community, not just for individuals. Like I said, I'll buy this kid a plaque. I'll put it anywhere the township wants to put it. But I just don't think Lombardi Field is the proper place for it, because then, like I said, you're just going to open up a can of worms for everyone.
I did ask about the bricks, and I was told, not by the alumni, anyone official, but I was informed that they did have a brick. I don't know if that is the case or not.
Nora, do you remember at the council meetings, this dad coming up at the council meetings and asking for this from the township?
At the one council meeting that I was at,
Yeah, that,
it didn't come up for conversation while I was there, but it probably has.
several times,
Yeah,
right.
that I don't know. But we do have, there's definitely areas that we can put a plaque in, or not a plaque,
A
but
brick.
a brick in. If they wanted to do a specialty plaque, we could arrange, you know, one set that way. But, I mean, there's a lot of options in our area. I mean, that's not, but it has not come up to us.
Okay, I think this is up for
That would be a
further
compromise.
discussion at another time.
We don't have a whole lot of time for that.
Yes. Basically, what I want to do now, I'm in the minority, and not going to get into why I'm in the minority on the board. I would have no problem with setting aside an area for things like this. I know with the tragedy that occurred in Pathmark, we are putting a plaque in for those individuals at the high school. But what I'm concerned about is it becoming Pandora's box, like Mr. D'Onofrio said. But knowing the situation, I do have a very soft spot for those 4 young men who celebrated at the Lombardi Field, and unfortunately, they got into a horrific car accident on 5/16 in 1966. Now, what I would like to do is, I want to work with the mayor to see what alternatives we have. And I think that's only being fair and genuine to the mayor of Old Bridge. He had come to our meeting asking us for our help, and I still want to help the mayor. I think that we have to work in concert with the administration and the council, and that's what I'm going to advocate. So we need to reach out to Mr. Owen Henry, Mayor Owen Henry, and determine how we're going to deal with this, and we do want to help in some way. So we'll have open dialogue with the mayor to see exactly what we can do to help him with his endeavor. Fair enough?
Mr. Dunn, I'm in that minority with you. I think we should do something.
I agree 100%. We should do something, Mr. Dunn, but I think there is better place, better options.
Fair enough.
Mr. Dunn, I
Mr.
also
Weber.
agree with you.
Okay. So, do we want to have a straw poll to allow this at some location in Lombardi Field to be determined with the help of the mayor and maybe with Ms. Andriani, who has had some alternative areas?
Well, I did. I actually went to the field, and I took pictures of some other areas, and over the course of the last couple of days, tried to catch up with some of the board members. But this number 7 does not say the bronze memorial plaque. It says a memorial plaque. So if you wanted to go forward and approve it, and that it's the placement of a plaque, there's no specific location, and it's not that particular plaque. So I don't want to get caught up in, oh, it's that bronze plaque, and oh, it has to be there. So we might want to consider watching the actual wording of this.
Mr. Dunn, I think you also stated you wanted to meet with the mayor and try and work out something. So I think taking a straw poll before you go through that process might be premature.
No, because he could present to him that we are willing to do something.
Now, if we amended the workshop item to say that an area to be determined at a later time, would that be palatable to get this put on to the action agenda?
I think you're going to have on the action agenda whatever presentation, whatever common ground you come to with the mayor, and it's just premature until you have that. We're saying we're going to vote on it maybe if it works out right. I mean, I would just as soon wait till you have a proposal.
Okay, then let's not add this to the action agenda just yet. We will speak with Mayor Henry and determine an alternative location, and then we'll come back to the Board of Education to discuss further.
Mr. Dunn, if I'm not at this special meeting, or if it's the next meeting that he attends, just also the proposal possibility, just maybe the schools that those kids attended, instead of so much just Lombardi Field. Maybe the schools they actually, they graduated from, or, you know what I'm saying? Let's not necessarily limit ourselves to just Lombardi Field.
Yeah, I believe there was a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, something like that, and the 17-year-old was the driver. So they attended different schools in the district.
Honor them at their schools that they attended, maybe,
Do
Mr.
you,
Dunn, I think also you didn't add that there was no cost to the board for any of this also.
That's correct. That was being picked up, I believe, by Mayor Henry. What we will do is we'll consult with the mayor and come up with an alternative area at Lombardi Field or another facility, and we will meet with him and determine what we can do to accommodate his request, and then based upon those discussions with the mayor, then we'll put it back onto the action agenda. Very well. Moving forward. Hearing of the residents on any issue. Nancy, podium is yours.
I just wanted to add some comments on full-day kindergarten. As a parent of a few years ago, when my children were in kindergarten, just a few years ago, I would have wanted it, and I think a lot of parents now that have children entering kindergarten would want their children to have what about 70% of the other districts have. That being said, I think that the public of Old Bridge, the taxpayers, should get the full picture. For example, the way the motions are written, I see no problem with it if the board is committed going forward with this. The comment about waiting until we find out what our aid is, at that point, it would be too late to implement for September. However, these motions allow the board to prepare bid specifications. If a bid, and then go out to bid. The board doesn't have to award the bid. But this isn't the issue. The issue is that this is like saying that you have money in the bank to pay for modifying your buildings, which this cost is unbelievable, really, in consideration of the two other plans that the board paid for. But I hope it's correct, and if it is, but it would have to be bid, and then the board would have to decide to award it. But this, it's been stated that this money would come out of our capital reserve, which is great. It wouldn't affect the tax levy. But the cost that's not here is the cost that's going to go on in perpetuity. How many staff initially would it take to open full-day kindergarten in 2014-15? I don't know. No, I don't think that's ever been discussed at a meeting, not that I've attended anyway. And even if you budget for that staff at step one with benefits, it's going to continue to go up, as has been stated. Again, it's like when we got grants for elementary counseling. Yes, for 3 years, the cost of the staff and their benefits and the supplies needed for the counselors was paid for. But then the money went away. And then that just became part of the tax levy. And as was stated in March of 2013, during the budget's, the board's budget review, about 80% of our budget goes to staff salary and benefits. Doesn't necessarily mean that staff salaries and benefits and the count of staff goes down when enrollment goes down, because it's just been stated. Enrollment has been down 600 students. But then you have other circumstances. For example, we have a robust special education program that people are attracted to, and that requires additional aides or teachers. It's even though enrollment has gone down, our special ed population has gone up. So it all comes hand in hand. And we don't know year to year what our state aid will be. You'll have a new governor coming in. The last time we had a change in governor, we were cut $7 million. Now, what happened? Yes, we didn't close schools, but talk to the custodians that were privatized, or talk to the paras that lost their benefits, and they will say that there was an impact, as well as all the athletic programs that were cut. And all of those have been put back now, and they're all part of the budget. So I think the public, if you're going to have these motions on next, in 2 weeks, you should have another motion on and say what the ongoing cost would be. How much staff, initially at least, and then, of course, you don't know, because if enrollment continues to grow, if more people are attracted to the full-day kindergarten, you're going to need more teachers. But I think more information, as has been stated, is required before going forward with this. And, I think that before the board makes any decision, they should have all the information. What about the other districts have implemented it? Have they used a referendum? How have they done it? I mean, that this information should be provided so the board can make an informed decision for the benefit of the district and the students.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Okay, we're closing the hearing of the residents portion, and now we're going to be moving to the good of the order. Donna, would you like to start first, or shall I start at the other end? Well, before we start, and I do apologize, I know I did not introduce our new Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Hoker. Welcome to the podium. You are going to be an asset, as we discussed previously at the other meetings, but welcome. And as you can see, she's going to be a vital part of our operation because she gets to sit up here with us. So welcome again, Dr. Hoker. Donna?
2 hours ago, Mr. Brasili whispered to me, saying, "Boy, this is one of the quickest meetings we've ever gone through." I've kicked him now under the table, and I've made him give me a blood oath that he will never say that to me again. You know what? When we moved to this format, I felt we lost some of the across-the-table dialogue. This is one of the first times that we've been able to vet across 35 feet and try and get something accomplished. Obviously, kindergarten will be a hot topic, not because of the educational value. Again, I don't think anybody is really has any issue with that, but to be fiscally responsible to the taxpayer, then we need all the information, as been stated many times. I started work today, so I got up at 5:30 this morning and went back to school. So the last meeting I said, "Ooh, summer's almost over," and I was corrected, so I will say it again. Summer is now almost over for everyone, and our teachers will be back this week. Good luck to all of you. The students will be back on Monday. Good luck to all of them. And Dr. Hoker, thank you for joining us today up here. And I'm looking for a very interesting school year. And that's it from me.
Okay, so I apologize to Donna, so I'll apologize to everybody else. I will never, ever make a statement like that again. I totally jinxed it, but anyway, Dr. Hoker, welcome once again. Welcome to the dais. Ms. Kibler, thank you so much for all the work you've put into the kindergarten program. I know that the full-day kindergarten that we have, the 2 classes, is going to be spectacular this year. I'm looking forward to visiting the classes tomorrow. Welcome back to all of the teachers and staff, all of the students. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful year. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Welcome back, our teachers, our great teachers in this district. I hope you've had a good summer and relaxed some of the time. Welcome Dr. Hoker up on the podium. Donna, congratulations on the plaques. Well-deserved. I mean, you've done a fantastic job always, and I can never say enough about the work that you do and the work you've put into this. Thank you very much. And I hope our students have a good year, and I hope our parents are glad to have them back out of the house. So I hope you all have a good year. Thank you.
Sorry. Just to reiterate what everybody else said, Dr. Hoker, welcome. Ms. Kibler, congratulations. And administrators, teachers, and students, let's just make this the best year Old Bridge has ever seen. Good luck to everybody.
I just have a couple of thank yous to go out. First, I'd like to thank Mrs. Citadino and Mayor Owen Henry for arranging the very well-timely, very respected and vigil you did on Saturday for the anniversary of the Pathmark incident. I know it was deeply felt by the families at a time when they needed the community support. They received it that day. So once again, Mr. Citadino, Mr. Owen Henry, thank you very much. Very classy, very well done. Also, we all know the type of administration staff that and our teachers we have here at Old Bridge, but I'd just like to send a shout out to Frank Faziz and Kevin Can and Denise Capasso and their staff, because once again, schools are open on time, bus routes are done, classrooms are great. I mean, I actually think our maintenance staff does most of the work in the summer. I mean, these guys really busted out. I mean, I was at the band camp 2 weeks ago at Sandburg, and that building was like looks like a hurricane hit it. And now you go there today, it's like we're ready for business. So once again, I just like to send a shout out to Kevin, Frank, and Denise, and all your staff, a great job in getting everybody back into the buildings on time. I'm looking forward to a great year. And once again, we have the best teachers and the best administrative staff in the county. I don't care what anybody tells me. So thank you all, and good luck, everyone.
Yeah, I'd like to wish our staff, our families, and our community, and all the students a very safe and productive school year.
Welcome aboard, Dr. Hoker. For the good of the public, I would like to, maybe the policy committee, to have a 30-second limitation on speeches for the good of the order.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Weber.
Mr. Dunn, I forgot to mention, just congratulations to you and Donna Angiani for taking the positions as president and vice president. I know you guys will do a good job together.
Thank you, Mr. Colabella. Firstly, I want to thank my colleagues on the Board of Education with giving me the responsibility of president. And I know that it was a 5-3 vote, and I know that some of my colleagues had some reservations and they're legitimate concerns. But I just want to make it known to them that I'm going to work tirelessly for the betterment of this district. I'm going to be a voice of the Board of Education, and I'm going to be the facilitator. I just want to remind everyone that I only have 1/9 of the vote on this Board of Education. 1/8 currently. Thank you. And I will uphold my responsibilities and make sure that we run a fair and equitable Board of Education. Everyone will have their say, there will be respect, and everyone will have the freedom to voice their concern. And that's how I'm going to be as president. I just want to thank you again, my colleagues, for bestowing this very important position on me. To Donna Andriani, the vice president, she is a confidant of mine. She is someone who I can work with, and quite frankly, we get along very well, and I want to sincerely thank her as well. But moving forward, there's a lot of things at stake in the school district over the next year, and we are going to work very diligently to make sure we do our due diligence and do what's necessary to ensure that we do the right thing, not only for our students, but also the taxpayer. I know that we've had a debate here, we discussed full-day kindergarten, and that's healthy. You know, like Donna had mentioned, that it was a long time coming that we had an open debate as a board because of this new format. And I'm hoping that this will continue going forward because we have a TV audience, we have people who are here in the audience, they could see what's going on, and everything is vetted very clearly and documented so everyone can have that information. But going forward, I will do my very best. I will fight for the students and also the taxpayer, and I will work very well with the 8 members of this Board of Education, and I promise the community and them that I will do my very best. On a closing remark, I just want to again welcome Dr. Hoker to this podium and to this administration, and I want to sincerely thank the entire maintenance division. I just want to echo what Mr. D'Onofrio said. I know that we got the meeting information from Frank Frazita, and they do a wonderful job. They work behind the scenes. They're in the summertime. They're sweating. They're killing themselves, getting the floors waxed and prepped, you know, painting the buildings, getting them set up. You know what? Those are things that go unseen. People don't realize that there's so much going on behind the scenes to get these buildings ready, and those are the forgotten employees. The forgotten employees are the custodial staff members, it's the field men, it's the maintenance men, it's the HVAC guys, it's the bus drivers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I also want to thank the technology department. They've been working very hard to get things ready for this season. I know that they've done extraordinarily well. I know Roseanne's been working, I know Barry Hopman's been working. They've all been working to make sure that we are ready for this school year. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to my colleagues, and I'm looking forward to a new school year. Thank you so much.
Motion to adjourn.
There you go. You beat me to it.
Happy New Year, Rosh Hashanah to all of our friends in the community that are celebrating that holiday.